So I caught up with this bloke over here, Gabrio. Hey, Gabrio, how are
Hello.
you? And we were talking a couple of weeks ago because we both got commenting on a post. It was a post on
Yep.
LinkedIn about SEO and search, and essentially, there's a lot of people out there, in my experience, that certainly in the search industry, that are kind of in a state of denial about where search is heading and how much AI is having an impact. But before we get into that, and Gabrielle and I were after that thread sort of got little bit heated. We had a chat that we caught up. We thought it would be a good idea if we just recorded a conversation together because we had such a good conversation last time. So, Gabrielle, if you can just introduce yourself, tell us what you do and where you do it.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. So, I'm Gabrio. I used to have a background in organic search. I said I used to because things have changed, as Jim just mentioned. So, again, I used to work agency side for a number of years, most of my career, and then things change. A bit of things happen, pandemic. So things have to evolve and change. And I opened my consultancy company, which I called a growth consulting company, obviously. And then I got interested in all the world of AI and how things are evolving and how things are affecting things. I team up with a AI consultant working over here in Europe called Cien, so you can also check her out. And then eventually I got connected to Jim. Things went a bit forward from there, and I got quite excited on creating something new. We create a new strategy, but not too much plugins here.
No,
Maybe
that's
later.
right. Yeah, maybe later.
And okay, it's called Rocky 4. You guys can check it out. And then we got interested in the topics and agreements on where things are headed. And yes, there was that LinkedIn topic there thread. So I didn't hit it up.
I'll make sure in the titles I put your web address on the titles.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
and and then we are every now and then chatting, time zone permitting, and I think we're quite on the same thinking directionally, and here we are.
Yeah, because you're based in Croatia at the moment, is that right?
Yeah, Croatia, and I tend to try to serve customers Europe and the US for the most part.
Yeah, right. And what's a typical sort of business you would work with?
Well, it would be the startup growing and without a growth team in place, but also some bespoke, some ad hoc consultancy stuff.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do right now is again to educate people on the changes, which I think you also are doing. And as we mentioned, there is some friction there, definitely. A lot.
Yeah. I mean, I see that because I watch a lot of what's happening in the SEO community on Twitter, X. I don't know when I can stop saying Twitter and start saying X. I don't know what the.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, but and I've seen sort of these conversations happen, like the one that happened on LinkedIn, where people are saying, "Oh yeah, this really interesting, the ChatGPT. I find that I'm using ChatGPT for things that I used to use Google for." But they don't seem to make that next step or that next connection to say, yeah, what is this doing to Google though? I mean, what sort of things are you still using Google for?
Yeah, totally, and even more so, I think also people with companies, brands, don't make that connection just yet. Probably because their internal people have not told them, "Hey guys, you need to do something."
Yeah.
And what we're trying to tell them is do something before it's too late, right? Because the informational queries, especially, we both know that, in our opinion, I think shared opinion, there's no history right now on the two comparison, right?
No, I mean if you're Googling something now, what sort of things would you be Googling?
Well, I would say some very specific things, but informational. I'm not using it anymore, being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Also, since the latest upgrade on the Search GPT of what was 2-3 weeks ago now, I forgot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe 2% or something very specific, or I don't know, even like opening hours, stupid stuff, small things. When I know already the brand, let's say my mechanic, I want to check when he's open. Maybe I'll type in his name and opening hours, just a simple one.
Yeah.
But not for informational one or something I don't know. I'm not using it anymore.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. And comparison, interestingly, is that my wife, she's digital savvy, obviously, but she's not as much into things as we are, and she's using ChatGPT all the time as well. So, and then I ask her, "How much are you using? Give me a percentage." I will not give you. I don't know a percentage. Say more or less. Well, maybe 80%. I said, okay, that's quite a lot, right? That she's using the app right now.
Yeah.
And also a couple of weeks ago, there was also another push from the ChatGPT people, the OpenAI, for using the native apps even more. And then they're trying to get Chrome customers while you're using ChatGPT. So they're being very, very aggressive, and people are even like saying, "Hey, they're trying to steal market share from Google." But what did Google do at the beginning? Let's be honest. So
Well, I mean, yeah,
shady things as well, right?
yeah. I remember when Search GPT launched, because it was the day before I launched my book.
Right.
No, it was actually, they launched the day after I launched the book, and I went and looked at it, and yeah, it's like, because I'd already been using Perplexity. Perplexity.ai for those who haven't used it, and I don't mind it. It's quite good, but I think Search GPT is probably a little bit better, and the ability to, as you say, do the informational queries in just ChatGPT, but Search GPT takes it to another level where all of a sudden I've got up-to-date information and all those sorts of things. And for me, I'm very similar for most things. That I'm using Google these days mainly for brand search or navigational type queries. And as you say, like Search GPT, they brought out the plugin for Google Chrome as well. And all of a sudden, you've got Google Chrome with a Search GPT plugin. Now, Perplexity's had that since the start, but I didn't use it. And I think one of the things that Google does have going for it is really good at navigation search and navigational queries like brand, and then I mean we've got AI overviews here, but I rarely see them, and that to me AI overviews was something that it was a quick fix or to throw into the Google search to stop leaking these queries.
To say we've done something also, right?
Yeah, so because as you say, all these informational queries are going across to ChatGPT. But I mean, people say, oh well, it's not really an ads related query, is it? An informational query. But I think what they forget though is that Google has this vast ads network, which is on all of these publishing sites, right? And if these, oh, hello, sorry about that, a bit of a thumbs up there. And if these informational queries are no longer going to Google, it means those publishers aren't getting those clicks. And if those publishers aren't getting those clicks, Google ads are not getting that exposure. So this has a massive roll-on effect. And that's why I think Google was trying to keep, rolling out this AI overviews. And it feels like to me at the moment they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, to some extent. Have you seen, is AI overviews in Europe at the moment, or?
In some countries, I mean, not over here, not that I'm aware of. I know they were rolling them out. I think the UK got them, and then you keep on hearing similar opinions on what you just said. I think for publishers, it's huge. You're totally right on that one, and they will at some point start wondering, hey, what's going on there if we don't get that revenue anymore and things are not rolling it. And I mean, at the end, we had a lot of stuff happening with Google. I think there's a lot of discontent generally. I mean, I don't have nothing against them, but things have been changing, and we know what happened back in the search engine game, right? We bring around for the Yahoo and Alta Vista days, right? I still remember using Alta Vista for technical queries only, right? It was the engine for that, and then totally gone. So and they're just trying to grab everything they can, right?
Yeah, and it happened so quickly with Alta Vista and
that's
Jeeves, Ask Jeeves, and but even before that, those older search engines, Alta Vista was pretty much the go-to one when Google came along. But obviously,
it held for a while,
Yeah, and it took over from, I guess, Lycos and
Lycos. That's right.
I forget what the other ones are, but and Yahoo to a certain extent, I guess, and we had an Australian one called Look Smart, and that had that created reviews. Like they had a team of people here in Melbourne that used to sit and review every website and write a manual review about
by hand.
And I thought, right, it doesn't seem that scalable to me. Anyway, and Google came along and certainly proved that to be the case. But Google did it without any advertising, without any fanfare, and within 6 years or whatever it was, they had 100 million users. Well, ChatGPT had that in 2 months.
It's all faster. It's crazy the acceleration on this. Yeah.
And once again, they're not doing any advertising. It's not like they've got a huge budget of advertising. They're trying to get out there, and it feels to me a bit like that. Google is such a big company now that there feels
slow, right?
Institutional inertia. It
became. it became. On this one, I can share some, without revealing names. So I've had the pleasure to work with two consultants that used to work at Google a while back. And what they were telling me is that, yes, because we asked them, oh, if it's so amazing, this was years ago, if it's so amazing, why you left, right? You have all the benefits, the cooks, the chef, all those things that we know benefits, why you left, apart from the cuisine, anyway. And they said, yes, it is amazing, you do things, but it's very slow and clunky, and I wanted to do my own thing, essentially. And then they went consulting and advising brands and stuff. So that's one thing which I think happens with a huge company. Some might remain lean, but it's not so simple, and we see this all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, like to me, I keep thinking about, well, I mean, what does Google have right now from a search perspective? And for most people, it's the navigation. It's the, I mean, the biggest searches in Google, according to Google Trends anyway, are things like brands and things like...
Obviously, they do brands, right? That's their thing. Yeah. Right. Obviously.
Yeah. And news and weather, So... But the top searches tend to be, the top search here is actually Google, because people still don't realise that the Omnibox actually just works as a search bar in Google Chrome, and so they still think they have to type in Google to get to Google.
Google to search in Google.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. But then after that, it is all the big brands. It probably is where you are. It's things like YouTube, Facebook, news, weather, and that'd be the major ones. But informational search, as far as volume goes, it then splinters out. But I've seen specific informational searches just drop through the floor, and like things like Stack Overflow related searches just gone now, especially around the coding language Python. And as we know, Python is now the most popular language, and that's according to GitHub earlier this year, just a couple of months ago. GitHub said Python coding language is now the most popular because it's the primary language that's been used to work with the large language models. And yet, the searches in relation to Stack Overflow have just dropped through the floor. And for those who don't know, Stack Overflow is a technical forum where you can get answers about your Python coding questions. Well, people aren't doing that anymore. They're just using ChatGPT. So,
yeah.
But and the search. I mean, I'm not hearing great things about Copilot for search and for usage, and this is a Microsoft tool for those of you who don't know. But Gemini, even Google Gemini, which you would hope would be good for search, is terrible. I don't know. Have you used Google Gemini much?
Honestly, I've never used it. I think I've seen the preview once, and then I thought, no, I don't want this. But because other things, I was not so happy with Google, so I said, I'm not going to use it on purpose.
Yeah.
But then eventually, I've heard also that, I had bugs. I think they had a demo and they went terribly wrong, or they went with
they went a bit
huge hallucinations, which for the note, we also had hallucinations essentially when the responses are not what they should be, or they keep on giving wrong answers. Now they're so much smaller. I don't know if you noticed, probably you did. So on the various tools, there's much less hallucinations, at least for my own experience.
I would agree.
Almost, I mean, still a little bit, and you have to say, no, that's wrong, do it again. And then you will get it right immediately. It used to be that you have to refine. Pretty much like you would go and refine on a Google search, right? So, and we hear this sort of pushback and comments from the SEO community, which, again, I used to be part of, or I still am, but I want to kind of step back a little bit. When they say, oh, but it's not good on this, oh, it's not getting that. Come on, this thing is new. Will you give it some time also? No, they expect to be perfect, right? And they nitpick on things. Yeah.
2 years old.
And so that's what I've been noticing. But to answer your question, no, I've not used Gemini, most of these things, and feedback I've heard. So
I mean, I tried, but it's just it loses its way during a conversation. It doesn't have memory. I mean, my primary large language model or chatbot that I use these days tends to be, I'm using Claude from Anthropic more than I'm using ChatGPT, but I'm still using ChatGPT. It's I don't know why my brain decides to use one over the other, but I tend to use Claude mostly because of the workflow. You're able to set up your own projects, which you can't do in ChatGPT. Just simple things like it allows you to star a conversation. So, essentially you've got a bookmark to the conversation, which is just, just that little workflow, bits and pieces. And in Claude, you can set up your projects. So they're essentially the equivalent of the ChatGPT. But I think that what you're talking about the SEO community. I mean, I used to do on this channel talk a lot about, I used to cover every Google update. I used to talk about backlinks and stuff, but I stopped doing that probably over 10 years ago now, because we just found, from our perspective, working with our clients, that the techniques that we used to use were becoming less and less effective as every Google update would roll out. And then the thing that we really noticed, though, was that the technical SEO that we were doing had an impact on every other channel for Google. For the client. So if we were going to, say, fix up a whole bunch of performance issues, then all of a sudden revenue would grow in every channel because the site worked better, and so conversions went up.
That's it.
Right,
because the user experience is better, right?
Right,
that's the thing.
Right, and then we started thinking about it. Well, hang on, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because we're making every other person look good. We're making the EDM people look good. We're making the Google Ads people look good. And conversely, the other side of that coin is that if you're not doing Google Ads and you're doing SEO for a client, and someone else is doing the Google Ads, they switch on a brand campaign, and your traffic, the Google organic traffic, goes through the floor. And we started to think about this and said, well, ads and organic, they're both competing for the same traffic off the same channel, right? So why are we splitting this up? Why aren't we just sort of treating it as one channel? And that's when we started to change the whole model, and that's when I sort of stopped going to things like PubCon and stuff like that. Because we just started.
You used to do a lot of conferences, right?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of speaking gigs, a lot of conferences. Well, lockdowns sort of cut out a lot of conferences for a while, especially in Melbourne, most lockdown city in the world. But it just became a case of where we went, you know what, SEO is more about the actual user experience. And that's when I started looking at, especially over the last 2 years since ChatGPT came out, is, well, how are these tools going to replace Google in that sense? What should we be doing for our clients? And February 2023, I started looking at it and saying, well, this is going to replace SEO. And a lot of people, as you say, in the industry just don't want to hear that. And
I know.
And to me, it's not threatening. It's just like to me, our job is helping our clients' businesses find customers, and convert them, whatever the medium. And so, we've been working on, what are the things we need to be doing around that. So, what are you seeing with, say, ChatGPT and for clients, and how is, I don't want to call it ranking, but what are the sorts of things that you're seeing around ChatGPT where businesses can gain an advantage of to be found when people are querying about something?
Yeah, and just one parenthesis, what you mentioned earlier on the models, that there are effectively differences between using one over the other, and mostly it's the way they reply. And the platform I've been using in collaboration with Sian, which is my business partner for AI consulting, she has a platform where you can actually choose all the models at once. It's pretty cool. Launch Lemonade. Okay, little plug for her. So with her platform, you can use different models. Essentially, you have one account, and in this account, you can use it either for yourself or for your client, and you can quickly switch to different. They have, I think, 18 models or something. And I've just done a project of one of my clients with a copilot, effectively, based on their own knowledge. And I've used one specific one because I like the way it answers. So we wanted it to be creative a little, but not super creative, and answer also very on board with the client information and knowledge that we feed them on, that we train them on. And by using different models, they answer very differently. So ChatGPT, for instance, is huge. It's one huge monster, and it can do a variety of things. And unless, for example, you tell him who you're acting at. So a good way to start is today you are my, I don't know, a Google Ads expert, a Maps consultant, a coding expert, writing, marketing, you fill the blanks. When you prompt him with that, he will sort of reset with another mini set. I don't even know what they have behind the scenes exactly, but he will reset. And then you do your prompt, and then he will act in a different way. So that one, is one way of effectively leveraging the best use. But in general, about clients, what you ask me now, I think, again, they are not seeing right now the connecting link with the experience, and the way people are interacting with these new tools is experience-based right now and experience-driven. So whether one has an hotel or as a SaaS software, they're still looking for the same things. And the way this will influence websites, in my opinion, is that we need to essentially rethink content strategy, remove 90% of the content out there, probably remove filler content, BS. Think more in terms of FAQs, important facts, takeaways, the real, let's say the content of 10 years ago, probably,
Yeah, right.
but polished and make it nice, without the spam. So it's still content driven with the understanding, the way, these searches are interacting. And what we're trying to do with my new strategy, the Rocky 4 thing, is essentially create sort of a framework that connects these things. So first of all, what is the objective of the client? What do they want? What is their target, the challenge, pain point? How we drive business for clients based on their goals. And then based on that, creating a content strategy aligned with these new ways of searching, conversational queries, thinking natural language. And then if there's the opportunity, we implement some AI solutions, which could be a Copilot or other, new tools and, interesting things there. And that's the work my business partner does now. So I think these things go hand in hand. And also what I see also happening more and more is the voice stuff, because we've not been saying much about the voice at all for a while. And SEOs were screaming from rooftops years ago. Okay, next year will be, right? I remember every year, around November, this time usually, that's the time where there's the SEO predictions for the years, guys. So for those of you not familiar, we used to work in that industry a lot. So every time around November, October, we've been asked, what do you think will happen next year? And more often than not, the truth is, when you don't know what to say, just say voice search is coming, right? That was the panacea, right?
Yeah.
And so this has been going on for a while, and you could effectively voice search in Google, but it was crap. So, and also difficult to interact with. It got better, but still not great. And what I find now, personally at least, is that if you have the search GPT, for example, the app on your phone, you can use the voice and make a query in a conversational way, and it's amazing. You can even use it for taking notes, by the way, if you wanted to. That's a side option. So I think this aspect, is something brands should also consider on one, the conversational side, two, using the voice search, and three, what AI solutions are you going to integrate? So for me, this is what brands should think at. And there are, of course, those more prone to this. Let's say so. Those, let's say, travel, are obviously good ones, and hospitality, those. But in my opinion, I can apply to a number of verticals. Medical stuff. We have to be careful with medical stuff, of course. But someone who looking for doctor for X, it will have a complex query like, I have this, and it will be long, right? It might interact in a conversational way, and you either will get on Google a generic doctor, which probably will not write for you. But what if you could explain really what you have, and if the content of a doctor will match what you're looking for, you'll go to the doctor because he will do that. Of course, we hope he will do what he says he will do, right? But just in general, or for example, I have a good one, for all of you car lovers out there, and I'm Italian, so I will say Ferrari. So Ferrari does amazing machines, cars, right? And they are completely customizable. So if they would implement a different content strategy, they could gather those maybe luxury clients that want specific things. You can have your trim color, your everything, details, everything, and that could be just one example, or even the more nuanced queries. And I find that people want searches targeted for them, personalized. Now we go back to personalization now. And I think this is also huge for personalization, where, again, one user wants this, one wants that, and so on and so on. So by leveraging this, we can create essentially a new type of content strategy, which could be like a content experience strategy, we can call it even. So I think this is where things are shifting. And personally, I don't see, brands being reactive to this, or proactive, if you will. What I do see, though, is that several big brands have, I don't know if you noticed this, so maybe a side plug for people, is that brands have an innovation department these days, especially the big brands. So if you go on LinkedIn, bonus tip here, people search and type innovation, you will see that the big ones usually have an innovation department. So if you're thinking to pitch AI services, new things, solutions, go to the innovation department, check with them. They are more likely to hear what you have to offer them. This is one thing I'm trying to talk, because sometimes it's not easy to open those conversations. So
that's a good tip.
I think, no worries. I thought it was useful. Don't go to the marketing director. They don't know this anymore. It's too much going on in their head. Find the innovation people. Those are most likely to reply to you, or even just add you on LinkedIn, which is already great.
Isn't that funny? Like, it used to be when we started, it was like they always used to forward us to the information technology person, and then finally we get sent to the marketing director. And now we're after the innovation director.
Innovation department, But I noticed, that the bigger ones have these figures now. And it's also interesting because it means they are interested. It might take time for be aware of these things. But, it tells you that there is this interest in big, I'm talking the larger ones, not the small ones. But I think this is where I think things are going and what we can do proactively. So essentially, if I say one thing last, yeah, think about trimming the content. If you have a ton of content on your website, think about how you can trim it, in my opinion, make it more useful and connected to the experience of your users, what they really want to find out, just I know in general terms.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I mean, I think, well, I wrote about it in the book, but we used to write a lot of terrible content. But I mean, it was quality content as far as, the words are in the right place, but no one was reading it because it was just purely there to get Google traffic, right? And
exactly.
That was about, I don't know, probably 2012 we stopped doing that. But, and I just felt bad about creating this stuff, and I felt like I was littering the web, you know what I mean? And a lot of that content is still out there, especially on, not so much, I guess, B2B sites, but certainly on publishing sites who their sole goal is to generate eyeball views, and you got to click the next page, you got to scroll through that ridiculously long article.
Tactics.
Yeah, it's just not going to cut it anymore. And to a similar extent, I see people using the tools to create more of that really what I would call long ass content that's wordy. Whereas, and I see them posting it on LinkedIn, and what most people are going to do is going to copy and paste the very, very long LinkedIn post and stick it back into ChatGPT. Say, summarize this for me, please. So it goes full circle. Right. And I think what it demonstrates to me is that, like it did with when Google came about, we started using it because it was better. And if it was better, it means we got our answers faster. And if we got our answers faster, that's what we're going to use. And the same applies to this, is that we want it. So everything I'm doing at the moment is that, are we delivering the message in a way that gets it across quickly? And we have especially for our e-commerce clients, we have a saying, which is, don't make me think. I just want to know what I'm meant to do on this page, what I'm meant to do on this article, what's the call to action, whatever it is. But, I'm not here to sit and leisurely browse your website for most of the businesses. It might be different for a Substack or whatever, or a Facebook or a social media site. But certainly for a business website, it's about, can you do what I need you to do? And how quickly can you tell me that? And I even start to think about, and I had a conversation last week with a local business here that's just developed a really nice AI shopping assistant. And it's basically, go back and look at last week's show over it. But basically, they install it on your site, and they say they can get you up and running in half an hour. It's for e-commerce businesses, obviously. But I looked at that and I said, well, why do we need websites? Because this tool is just basically accessing a database, and it knows what the database is. It knows what all the products are. You can read them all.
You mean it does the product recommendations in-app, basically?
Yeah, in a little pop-up. So it's just a pop-up on the site. And you can just query anything, tell us about the size, and it's a fashion site that the first one is built on. And they're just basically saying, well, I need a pair of shoes that will go with this summer dress, or whatever it might be. And the AI shopping assistant knows which one. So the only thing you need, and you can check out, I think you can check out within the pop-up. But I look at that and it's like, this is more than just affecting search. This is going to affect content management systems.
E-commerce. Yeah.
E-commerce. But like actual websites, it's like, like for instance, if I said to someone the other day on LinkedIn, I was trying to explain something. I said, look, if we all had, say, our own Jeeves out of Iron Man, would we surf the web? Because that's where we're heading, right? So it's like, if we have our own Jeeves, are we going to surf the web, or are we just going to ask Jeeves just to buy the thing for us? Because it knows what we like, and it knows our sizes, it knows all those things.
Yeah, for prior history and whatever you've done with
it. We've given it memory and all those sorts of things. So, I mean, and we're not talking 10 years away. We're talking maybe 10 months away. And it's these sorts of things that I'm trying to prepare our clients for. So this idea that, you have lots of content out there that's, 5,000 word article that's somehow going to help you get customers, I mean, is just a waste of time and money. To me, it's like, are you delivering the right product descriptions in the case of e-commerce, the right information about how to use the product, even different applications of the product or the service, whatever it might be. But the things that people are going to want to know when they're asking about out there in the industry. But that platform that you were telling me that your partner is using, that's hers that she's built, is it?
Yeah, it's their own product. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have their own
Nice.
company and their.
What was it called?
Yeah. It's called launchlemonade.app.
Oh, I think I have seen that. Yeah, Launch Lemonade.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can
yeah,
connect you with Sien if you want. She's great. So yeah, that one. And actually, we've done connected to what you just said. So massive for e-commerce. Hello, Shopify people, please listen to this. And one applications we've just launched for one of our my clients, which is called Straight Line Landscape, is a landscape design company in the US, is essentially a co-pilot trained on their specific knowledge, design on address drop-off points for their projects. So these people do huge projects, now little details, and we've had customers dropping off during the inquiry flow. And we didn't know why. So we didn't have fancy heat maps or things. We just wanted to know more about this. Yeah. So what we decided to create via the platform I just mentioned is to create a copilot specifically trained on internal knowledge of the client, which addresses specific questions, or for example, budget questions or location questions on specific projects. And it will answer in a very conversational way because I've trained it in a certain way. So he knows everything, as Jim just said, about budgets, locations, and he will answer every possible question there. So this is even a situation where, in this case, we're not even removing jobs where people say, hey, AI will take all our jobs, because my client at the moment does not have the capacity to answer those questions. So it's actually helping them and then helping them convert better, because they will give questions to customers which don't know the answers and they simply drop off. But now we will just launch it, so I don't have the data just yet. We're hoping to capture more questions and be able to also refine and inform our content strategy better when we know what people are asking, essentially. So it's a constant feedback loop there, right? And if you think about an e-com also, you can also see pain points, because you can have access anonymized to the chats and see what people are asking. So for marketers, this is a great way to have great information, where sort of you're doing a survey in a way which is frictionless for the customer, where they will share queries and questions. They will know, of course, that we're recording everything, but then you have access to a multitude of data. And when it's a huge e-commerce, maybe more difficult to understand, but you can still feed all the chats back to the chat and then ask him, give me the takeaways. What are the common themes? 5 common themes. Give it to me, pro and con of our product. And then there you go. You have a way to refine. And then you go to the content strategies. Humans, we really still I love working with my human friends also. So, but we have a more high level detail on, hey, we need to focus on this, not maybe we should do that, maybe. No, exactly based on the data. So this is also a very interesting way and case use for marketers. And this is just one way of using this.
Yeah.
But the example you mentioned of the app with already the e-com integrated is great. And then the question comes, do we need websites anymore, right?
I mean, obviously, I'm thinking about all of those sorts of things. It's like, will we care about, we barely care about web addresses anymore, because we're just looking at the brand and we're Googling the brand essentially now. And we've got the generic top level domain names like .shop and, all the rest of it, so that, people are using the domain name system for branding. And, that's probably going to continue, because, TCP IP and DNS is a great way to, for information sharing and those sorts of things. But I think we're going to get a different layer on top of that, which will be the personal assistants. And I think what you've just described is probably the start of some of that. I mean, we saw some of those come out in the, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, where they were essentially wrappers of, ChatGPT, and they were doing everything. People were using them for all sorts of things and negotiating with them. And I read one example where someone had got General Motors in the US chatbot to develop all this HTML code for them, all sorts of things. So they do have to, So, but this idea that, as you said before, it's not going to get worse. It's only going to get better from here. And those assistants, I think, will dominate, because, it goes back to what I said before. It's like the faster and easier you make it for me, the more I'm going to use your service.
Totally. 100%.
And I mean, we used to do that with navigation, but navigation menus and those sorts of things, what we learned with those in Google is that if we made the navigation menu easier, rankings would go up, and also we would sell more stuff across all the channels, not just SEO, not just organic. And then when site search tools got better, where I guess one of the first ones out there was Excite back in the day, but in modern terms, Algolia, Nextopia. Now I guess we've got Search Spring. Search is one of the most used functions on an e-commerce website because it gets you to that product faster. We talk about it here like they're like the greeter at the front end of the store, which you come in and you just ask, "Where's that thing?" Well, Search is
do you have this number, right?
Yeah, right. Search is great for that. But what's replacing that is these bots, and Shopify is very big on their app ecosystem. They're very supportive of that, and so they will encourage these things. But like different chatbots and all those sorts of things that will plug into the app store, but the Shopify app store. But I think it's moving so quickly that we will see the evolution of a new type of web experience that is basically a dynamically generated AI chatbot that is personalized to you. So we may all get different experiences of the same website.
Yeah. And just to one more thing connected to this, one of the partners which is helping me on our strategy business development just told me, what about short-term wins? Because what we're talking about now, it might involve content strategy, doing something on the website. If we're still using websites, let's assume for a second, it's a bit, let's say the medium long term. Now, people want results tomorrow these days, right? Yeah. So he was asking me, what can we do for also video stuff and socials, where there's the more quicker interactions, where brands want quick results. So I thought for a second, hang on, how we can integrate it. And I said, yeah, of course we can, because we can use existing data in the social channels of a company and then see the way people interact with those brands. That's conversational in nature by itself, right? And then we can use those queries because we can capture them, again, run the tools, capture those, and then use those for your content strategy to be more conversational. And if you don't have social media, do the opposite. Do a content strategy, conversational content strategy, and then create a social media strategy based on those conversational queries. And then you might amplify for those people looking for your brand. So this can go really full circle. And that's where I get excited here, because this is what we call now a growth strategy, right? It's no more single channel here. It's all channels combined. And it's down to the marketer. Then when we can still use our brain, they will not take all your jobs. But you have to be creative. You have to advise the client, how do you do this? How do you put things together? And your experience also will make a difference experience again. Yeah. So because the chats and the AI, they cannot do this yet. Yeah, I say yet because you never know. Yeah. But this, I think, for us marketers, still has opportunities in this sense where we have to use the tools. We have to know what they can and cannot do. What is the best on how we should advise a client. It could be you say, no, don't do this. I always am a fan of pushing back things sometimes. So you have to say no. Don't say yes to everything as well, right? We know from experience. But I think this, again, can get quite exciting. And when you think, hey, how we can integrate, hey, we're doing all these socials, great. Get the data, harvest the data there, how people are interacting with your brand. What questions are they asking? Maybe use just that, do a copilot on your website based on that. You don't need to redo the whole content strategy, maybe. If your content strategy is good, I would say we don't need to redo the whole wheel, reinvent the wheel, right? If it's good. If it's not good, we have to do it. Yeah. But so it's such on a case by case, and this again applies to all industries, right? And the touch points. One is buying TVs, and they have a specific queries. Hey, I want this TV to fit my room, etc., etc. Or one great example was when we were testing the strategy on the travel queries. So I live in London, near Battersea Park. I'm looking for a spa, walking distance to the tube. Do you have any recommendations? Massive query. And this was already 6+ months ago. This has completely different results in the search engines and in chat and one of the other tools. So everybody was recommending TripAdvisor, the traditional ones, essentially, first results. Totally useless, because it will give you the generic stuff, right? Yeah. But the search tools, instead, the AI ones, they were giving you the experience answer. So you're looking for that. You want the spa. You want to walk walking distance, or that I can have a walk after the spa, something. You might think, owners of companies, who will search like that? They will search like that.
They're already, I agree.
Long tail. I still remember, I think from Moz, when Moz was still amazing. He's not so great anymore. Sorry, Moz guys. It used to be great. I used to follow 100%. So they used to have a graph on the long tail of search, and you remember, it was long. And so the highest percentage were the longest queries, right? Back then.
But that long tail now is changed to something completely different, where...
Yeah, you change again, right?
Well, there's, as you just said, in that particular query that you put forward, is that there are multiple elements in that. Like, it's not just someone, looking for a digital SLR camera with a
Yeah, exactly.
telephoto lens. No, it's multiple things. It's like, where can I buy that? And then go and have lunch somewhere afterwards. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
so
It's complex.
and that's when I get back to this thing where I say it's like having your own personal Jeeves. It's that assistant thing. And I think, that's where we're heading. And just on the point that you make too about, replacing jobs, that, I mean, I thought when in February 2023, I said to the team, I sat them down and I said, I think we need to automate ourselves or replace ourselves before AI does. I mean, I don't think that anymore. What I did learn though is that the tools have helped us augment our skills. Like, probably the same as you, we're doing things we would never have thought of doing before.
Yeah.
Like competitive analysis really, really quickly. Like last night for Black Friday, or 2 days ago for Black Friday, I just grabbed a whole raft of data out of Google Analytics, and I just, as a PDF, and I gave the PDF to Claude, and I said, it's all tabular data, right? So, and I just said to Claude, I need some nice visuals for the client, and I need to know what products were bought in the peak shopping times of the day. And I need the analysis and any strategies that you can recommend. Or, it was a long form prompt. And it came back and gave me some beautiful visuals and some really good analysis. Obviously, you've got to go and check it. But
you got to check it, of course.
I mean, we lost people when computers came along, because I'm old enough to remember when I worked in the public service here for the government in the 80s, where we had typing pools, and there were all these typists, and that's all they did was type. I'm also old enough to remember when we had memos that used to be dropped on our desk because we didn't have computers on our desk, right? But when email came around, the memos didn't stop. You know what I mean? We all just did. Yeah. Well, no. There'd be a typed document.
Right.
It was a memorandum.
A memo, as in a memo, a big one.
A typed document from whichever department, whichever sales manager, whichever whatever, used to be put on your desk, and you have to read it, and then you go, oh, okay, and then you throw it in the bin. And but then we got email, and all of a sudden we're doing things with email that we never would have thought of doing before. Like, we're contacting clients via text. It's like we used to have to go out in the street and wear out the shoe leather and knock on their doors.
Pick up the phone, right?
Yeah, or pick up the phone. We couldn't just do it via an email. So that's what I think, liken this to, is that it's allowing us to do more with the tools. And to me, it's extending our skill set and giving us more strings to our bow. And the idea of having to as you say, those long search queries, who's going to type that in? Everybody soon. Like, I'm doing it at the moment for Christmas presents to try to work out what to buy my wife. Things like that. She doesn't watch the show. But so there's just so many things that it is going to change, and it's and I think all marketers and business owners should be just using the tools as much as they possibly can, because unless you're using them, you're not going to know what's possible.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So, but what's your prediction for what do you think is going to be the next major change? We probably should finish up now. No idea what time it is.
Yeah. But we can wrap up. I think it's been an hour or something.
Yeah, it's getting dark here. But what's your prediction for the biggest change we're going to see in the next 12 months? Put you on the spot.
I think more integration, essentially. I think this acceleration will continue. And hard to say if there will be another seismic change like this. But maybe the change will be that Google will, admit defeat, or maybe they will try still once again to come up with something huge. I think one, and then two, I think even more integration with all the tools with let's say the regular people, because at the moment I think it's still for, let's say, us behind the scenes, let's say the experts, the techie, the geeky, the nerds, whatever we want to call us. But I think for the majority of people, it's still a bit of I'm exploring, I don't know just yet. I think there will be more of that. So for instance, when you install your computer, I think in the next time, if you have to redo your operating system, you'll get the question, do you want to install this? And it's still not happening. Side note, I just had to format my computer. I'm a PC user. So Windows didn't ask me that. And this is still the traditional. So I just had to wipe out everything to make clean for whatever reason. and it didn't happen. So I think it tried to install the Copilot of Microsoft, yes, which is another app which I never tried and I don't like personally. But it didn't ask me. Even when you install the browser, still not asking you, do you want to install this? It gives you the browser choice, yes, that one you get still with the tools. And I personally use Brave, which is a bit better for tracking and stuff.
Yes.
Opinions vary, but I like Brave. And you have the browser choice, but you don't have the AI assistant choice. So I think when that will happen, and I think OpenAI is quite aggressive on things, they will work on that. And they have a partnership with Microsoft. I think Apple will follow suit as well. So I think personally, we will see more of that integration, and then more also innovations coming into the space. I see a lot of tools. It seems that majority of marketers, which I think they're not doing what me and Jim are trying to do here. So with the clients, doing strategies, they focus on tools. So it's tools for a little price and scale to 100,000 users. So we focus, I think, on different products, also me personally. But other than that, I see a lot of tools. Hey, do presentations in one click. Hey, do meetings. I don't know, organize your calendar in one click. So there's a lot of that. I think it might be more of that. So I think that's also what's coming. We need to keep an eye on solutions which are really good, which aren't. And then back to your point, testing and trying things is really, really important, especially for site owners. So my advice, if you work in-house or you run a big agency, you're a head of department, tell your clients, hey, at least be aware of these things, know that they are out there, and suggest them to try even their busy day. Tell them, hey, pick an hour on Friday, try this one, see how it's affecting you and your team, ask around. And then if things change, then look up for, I'm not saying go come to us, but look up for someone that can help you in that space. And if you cannot find anybody, maybe come to us. Fine, fair enough. But I think that to, be on the radar at least. And as Jim again said, things change before from either on the search perspective or when we changed the machinery we've been using in ages ago. And then now we have computers, whatever. So things have changed, and it's usually for improvement of things. And we'll see where things go. So a bit of convoluted answer here.
No, that's right.
Those are what are yours, Jim? What do you think for next?
I'm wondering what's going to happen to Google, really. I mean, we've got so many things happening right now with, they had the antitrust case. We've still got that judgment to come down from the DOJ. The rumor is that they're going to split off Chrome. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But if that does happen, that's really interesting from Google's perspective, because as we've just said, that's most people's gateway to the web. I do love Brave. Brave is a great browser, and I recommend everyone grab a hold of Brave. Great for torrents too, as it turns out, and they do a cryptocurrency. But with Google, I think even leaving out the antitrust case and the DOJ stuff aside, I think they are very, very vulnerable, and it seems funny to even be thinking that about Google. Like 2 years ago, you wouldn't have even thought that.
The giant, right?
Yeah, but they are very vulnerable right now. And I think one of the biggest threats to them still is AI browsers. And OpenAI have announced they're going to be bringing one out. And I'm already using the ChatGPT desktop app, and, it's just a shortcut and click. It's not browser-like, but as soon as those apps become browser-like, where I can be running multiple tabs, and the tabs,
App Store and stuff.
Yeah, but the tabs can be aware of each other, right? So I might be on Google Ads, say, and I might have Google Search Console open at the same time, and I'm already logged in, and that's but it's an OpenAI browser. Just say, look, hey, basic, grab the stuff out of Search Console, and because the authentication's already done. I'm in the browser; it knows it's open. So all of those sorts of applications, and I'm sort of surprised that Google hasn't done it, but let's face it, Gemini's not much chop at the moment. But so I think there's some real innovations coming in the next 6 months, and there's so many other things to talk about. But we probably should do it again in another 3 or 4 months or something. But been great talking to you, Gabrio. Thank you very much. I will put all your links up on the screen now, somewhere around here. And
pleasure to be on. Thank you, Jim. And please follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, follow Gabrio on LinkedIn. He's very active on LinkedIn. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.